there was a time when we were forced to consume things imported, like folklore, stories, fairy tale, merry tales. But now we are writing our own stories and we are exporting our own stories. Welcome to another segment of oral tradition, another adventure in Guyanese literature. And let's welcome a writer, an educator who has got this thing under control in that she is or she has produced at least two books now, right? Exporting our stories. Shireen, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Petam. It's such a pleasure to be here today.
Hi, welcome, welcome. Uh, it's a long time. It's a long time.
Indeed.
It's a long time between Intertwine and your new book. Some 15 years. What has happened to Shireen in the meantime between these two publications?
So, when I wrote Intertwined, I was still living in Guyana, and I think I published it in 2010
Yeah.
and migrated to the United States in 2011, January of 2011. So, of course, it meant that I had to become used to operating in a new dispensation. I had to get myself settled. I had to learn a whole new culture.
Yeah.
And there were so many transitional things that I was dealing with that did not allow me to write.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I did go back to writing. I started writing Legends of the Black Water sometime it might have been 2015 or 2016. But then, just as I was preparing to publish, I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Ah.
And so I spent that time dealing with diagnosis and treatment. And around the same time as well, I started a new job teaching public school with the Board of Education here in New York. And so there were so many adjustments. And then, of course, cancer treatment is no easy walk.
Yes.
So I had
Yes.
to relegate my writing to the back burner for quite a few years. And then once I felt that I was in a mental space to get back to writing, that's exactly what I did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that phrase, the mental space to write again. I like that. I like that phrase. I like that phrase. Um, mm. At the beginning, I said we used to import, or used to be consuming imported stuff, imported stories, imported folklores, things from abroad. But now we're writing, and congratulations for doing this. Now we can write and
Thank
export
you.
our stories. What other reasons you have for producing this second book?
Well, there are several reasons actually. One, when I was writing Intertwined, I was still stuck in this colonial way of thinking that we had to express ourselves and our stories using the Queen's English, and that we really couldn't tell Guyanese stories in true Guyanese fashion.
Yeah.
I even recall, I recall there was an incident where I was speaking with one of my friends, and I said something to them in Creolese, and his response was, "Since when you guess so? How all of a sudden you talking like the right?" Um, and then when I was writing Intertwined, there was a section where I wrote that the protagonist said to one of the characters, "You're so gallant." And my daughter said to me, "Mommy, nobody talks like that." It started me thinking the way that I was expressing these stories. And I decided no, to tell Guyanese stories in our Guyanese register. I want to use Guyanese colloquialism. So that was one of the things that I had in the back of my mind when I was writing. The other thing is that I was born and bred in Linden, and there's so many stories that um, are unique to Linden, also make Linden even more interesting. And I felt like, as someone who was there and who was a journalist there as well, I felt like I had some sort of responsibility to tell these stories. And so I started putting them together. I would meet with people and talk with people, and they'd tell me all sorts of interesting tidbits,
Mm-hmm.
things that happened, things that I remember, things that I didn't remember, or things that I didn't know at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that this was the ideal time and methodology to capture our folklore, to tell our folklore.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, just yesterday I was thinking, as I'm, thinking about preparation for this interview, and I said to myself, we grew up with foreign folklore, foreign fairy tales,
So
and we
my introduction wasn't off.
absolutely not. I was thinking you were reading my mind yesterday, actually.
Go on.
Yeah, and I was thinking that you know, we tend to have such a pejorative opinion of our aspects of our culture, and we don't need to think of our culture that way. We need to embrace our culture with pride.
Yeah, yeah, indeed, indeed, indeed. What's this fascination with black water? Um, uh, there is Carmen Sobrine Barkley, who's done I think 3 books on Blackwater people, all right, and women of Blackwater, and there's another title. There are other writers, like Patricia de Tan, who wrote about bauxite, sugar, and mud, and Steve Connolly, who wrote about the children of Watuka, all about Linden. So a lot of things have come out of Linden, lots of stories. What is different from the other writings? What is in your legend of the Blackwater that is different from the previous books?
So first, I'm going to answer your question with a question. Have you gone to Linden?
Yeah, yeah, I've been to Linden.
Okay, all right. Um, I got inspiration for the title of my book from Carmen. I loved the idea of Blackwater people. I like to think of Linden as Blackwater country
Uh huh.
because we have so many creeks that flow through the town,
Mm-hmm.
and the water is black. You can see, if you can put the cover back on screen. Um, that's a picture of Bamia Creek, right? And the picture is not enhanced. So what you're seeing is the actual color of the water at Bamia.
Wow.
And I thought um, it was a good way to capture the geographical features, or one of the geographical features of the town, by enshrining it in the title of the book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I haven't read any of the other works that you've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I do have Carmen's work, but I just have not had a chance to read it. I have too
Yeah.
many things going
Yeah.
on. Um, so I'm not sure that I can speak to how the similarities and differences between the various works. What I
Okay.
can tell you is that Legends of the Black Water focuses on beliefs, superstitions, that we as a people have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the stories are based on events that may have occurred. Of course, I embellished quite a bit to, for dramatic effect. And you also realize that there are people who would have experienced some of these events, and you want to make sure that you're telling the stories in a way that um, people can use them to reflect on them and not be hurt by them.
Ah, ah, ah. That's a hard task. How did you manage that? I mean, these are some weird stories, blood curling stories. How were you able to do that with language? Take, for instance, Firebun or 3 weeks later, Firebun, The Price of Plenty. Let's think out a story and show us how you were able to tell such a dark tale that it shines light, it illuminates our understanding of Linden, of this particular part of Linden.
Well, I don't know that I have achieved that goal. I hope that I have. Um, the intention is that I'm able to do so. But I can think of, let's start with 3 weeks later. Um, what I try to do in that story is not just tell the story of what happened, but to show how our beliefs can cause us to be unyielding, and not accommodating of other beliefs and um, other people's
Okay,
perspectives.
okay,
Um, what I also sought to do in that story, so I'm not just telling the tale of um, this young man who's trapped in the world of mermaids, but I'm also telling a bit of the tale of Linden, how it was created. I gave some descriptions of the landscape so that you are getting about three different stories in one. You're getting the story of the characters, you're getting the character story. You also have the location as a character, right? And
yeah.
you also have the history of the town as a character.
Sounds like an educator. Sounds like a teacher.
Well, I am.
Go on. What I'd like you to do, if you should select one of the stories or two and read a piece and project your thoughts.
I took some liberties with Curry Goat. Um, I tried to inject humor
Uh huh.
with horror.